Hello everyone, Russ of Aquariumax here with the Wednesday live stream. As you can see, all about multis, at least for the first part. Do some Q&A a little later. But this population's doing well right over here in the corner. I don't know if you can see it now. You see that fish there? That's one of my new F2s, meaning it's just a couple generations removed from the wild. I've got 4 of them in here, and this one had just produced some fry. So I don't know if we'll see any fry today or not in this corner. May or may not. I hope so. But we have fry, so that's cool. Pretty fun. Now I'm going to change the chat so that everybody can get in here. At any rate, I've had this colony of multis for a good long time now. And it's probably been, I want to say about 3 years that I've had the colony. Fish right in the center of the screen there. It's one of the younger ones. It's been eating a lot of newly hatched brine shrimp and has been growing fast though. Little Bob, first one in the house it looks like here. We've got a couple more people in the house. Who else is in here? Welcome to Little Bob, one of our mods. Yeah, it's been a while since I've shown it. I think I showed it on a live stream maybe a couple of months ago, but I don't know if you were there. Jay's Crazy Obsessions, welcome. So there's the F2 bottom right corner right there, a little darker than the others, which can probably change. I think the one in the top left right now is also one of the F2s. And then a couple of the F2s have taken residence up here by the sponge filter. But hopefully they'll find a more permanent residence soon. I'm actually going to dump a little food in the tank here and see what we get. We can watch them eat. They love that, you know, when you dump the food in the tank. Of course, I've got live food. I've got the dregs of the last brine shrimp culture, as well as here. I'm gonna see some ceiling for a minute as I travel here into the room to grab. I realized I had forgotten and left the food in the other room. So these are brine shrimp, the last of the brine shrimp from the older hatch that I had, and then also some microworms. I'm going to feed them both of those, so just a second here. Yeah, one of my daughters is coughing up a storm back there. All right, so here we go. All right, here we go. Here come the last of the brine shrimp and a few microworms. Not a lot of the brine shrimp because I need to start. I just started a new batch. But Chad, Kratz, good evening. And the shells are basically their entire life support system. They spawn in the shells, the babies hatch in the shells, they hide in the shells. They're very central to their existence. Without the shells, they wouldn't have much of a life. They need something like a shell. They can live in PVC elbows, actually. So yeah, let's see if the little fry poke out a little bit over here. We're gonna just aim it down here for a minute and see if we see any of them poke out, because that's kind of fun if we see it. Oh, I think I saw one for a second. Did anybody see that? I don't know, we'll see. So critters depends on the critter, but for example, this aquarium and my other aquariums try to give my antlers and my multis a feeding in the morning when I'm exercising. So between 5 and 5:20 in the morning, I get up pretty early, and I usually give them a feeding then. Usually give them a feeding when I get back from work. And my kids give them a feeding at some point in the afternoon, and then I'll usually give them another feeding. So, ooh, loud airplane. I'm not seeing any fry right there, so not at the moment anyway. They're kind of camera shy. Oh, nope, I just saw it. I hope you did. They just poked out for just a second, not a whole lot. Okay, so So it totally depends. You know, our snake only gets fed once a week on Wednesdays. He's not going to be fed today because he is in shed. And so he's probably a day or two and he will finish shedding. And then he'll get a feeding next week. Primetime Gecko, hey, and help me. Where did I get the shellies? I actually got these from a couple of different sources. I got my first shellies from an ad on local online classifieds. There were about half a dozen. And if you've seen my videos, this is from maybe 3 years ago or so. That first batch, I lost some of them when I was treating for cyanobacteria. It was kind of miserable. I didn't lose all of them, but I lost a number of them. So I went and got some more from a place called All Red Aquatics that's not too far from me. It's about an hour away. And then most recently, I added to the colony, which of course has been, breeding for years. So I've moved some out of here as well, but the colony has expanded quite a bit with babies. So most of the ones that are in this tank now actually were born here. And then I want to say a month or two ago, I got a couple of F2s, which are, ones that are just a couple generations removed from wild, so that I could, improve the bloodline a little bit. The problem is a lot of captive multis will throw fish with spinal deformities, and mine are doing that a little bit, and I'm culling them out, but to help with that, I'm adding these other bloodlines from the wild, so that helps. And Damien. Damien is going to be featured in one of my videos. He's local to me, and I'm going to be featured in one of my videos soon, so watch out for that. He does some cool stuff. You can find out more about that. And hopefully the lag isn't too bad. We're getting some likes going. Thank you, everyone. Check that out. Always appreciate that. The like spikes really get people watching, because when YouTube senses a like spike, they send out a whole bunch of notifications to people that wouldn't otherwise get them. That's how I understand it. So yeah, there are over 100 snail shells in here. These are all from escargot snails. I bought these online, all of them, I believe, or very nearly all of them, on Amazon. And they send you some nice clean snail shells that are nice and big. They're the perfect size for multis. They work very well as a substitute for the snails that live in the lake where they come from. The snails that live in the lake that they come from are almost paper thin, very fragile, very expensive. And these snails, on the other hand, are quite a bit cheaper and a lot more durable. And like I said, I've got over 100 in here. And it seems to work really well. I didn't always have this many. Eggshells probably wouldn't work too well because they like to have the bend in there to help them get some security. And that is can be provided by a PVC elbow. People who want to breed a ton of these and sell a ton of these will sometimes use the PVC elbows, because you can put the little cap on the end, and then when you take the fish out, you just pop off the cap and drop the fish into a bag or into another tank or whatever you want to do. And it's a lot easier to remove them. When you put them in the shells, it's tricky to remove them. There are a couple of things you can do. One of the techniques that a lot of people use is to put the shell up high in the tank. So you put it on a shelf or something like that, or you can suspend it from a container with some fishing line. Put a small container that just barely fits the shell in and suspend it from a couple of lines of fishing line, hang it from the top, and then the fish, when they realize, this is in a tank without shells, when the fish realize they're high up, they will dart down to the bottom, leaving the shells. So there you go. Hopefully that kind of explains how that works. But yeah, so it's a much more complicated business to get them out of the shells than it is the PVC elbows, I guess. I think I have right around 25 fish in here, maybe a little bit more than that. I'm not sure how many fry are in here right now, tiny little fry, because they're starting to show up again. Seems to go in waves. The last wave was very tiny and only resulted in that one that's right in the middle of the screen right now, the little guy there. He's, I don't know, maybe 3 months old, something like that. And I don't know. I think crabs think, well, they probably seem like they're flying. I don't know if they think about it a lot, but makes sense. I think I may have seen some fry over here a day or two ago, but I'm not sure. Oh, Jay's Crazy Obsessions. How much more work would you say your teeny lizards are than 2 ball pythons? Well, I would say the morning geckos are the ones you're talking about. Yeah, they are actually difficult to say because I haven't kept ball pythons, but I'm guessing ball python care is quite similar to corn snake care. And I would say lizard-wise, morning geckos are really pretty easy. You don't necessarily need to feed them any live insects at all. And if you do, you don't necessarily need to do it all that often, but you're feeding them basically crested gecko diet, and they'll do really well on that. And then, so you only need to feed them every couple of days if that's all you're feeding, is some nice soupy crested gecko diet. And then you're misting the vivarium, ideally misting it about once a day or so, depending on the type of vivarium you have. If you have a bioactive, once a day is fine. And then you can skip a day or two here and there, and that's fine too. And then, yeah, you're wiping down the glass. You're not having to clean up a lot. So in a ball python enclosure, I mean, bioactive enclosure would be different, but assuming it's not a bioactive enclosure, you would have to be cleaning up fairly often. So I think they're fairly easy, although they have to eat more often than a ball python does. So there's that. I don't know. They're both pretty easy reptiles, I think. Corn snakes are super easy, and I'm assuming ball pythons are similar. I really like that corn snake, you only have to clean up after it about once a week. You only have to feed it about once a week, and when it's an adult, even less often. So that's pretty amazing. I've really enjoyed the ease of care. And if you can't take it out for a day or two, the snake's not going to be upset about that. So, C2O, how long did you have your first batch of Shelleys before they started breeding for you? Good question. I actually do have a video record of that somewhere, but I can't quite remember. But I think it was a few months before they started breeding, maybe 3 or so. That's just kind of a guess. But they've gone through different cycles, and right now I've been, for a few weeks, since the middle of July or so, I've been feeding them pretty heavily with brine shrimp, so they get a feeding or two most days of baby brine shrimp to try to boost up their breeding. And of course, we have seen that they're producing some fry on that, so that's good. It's helping. But I'm not sure. But something like probably 3 months. And welcome, Crystal's Pets and Plants. So, yeah, I would say morning geckos are one of the easiest lizards, but they're not a great lizard if you want one to handle, of course. If you want something that's handled and equally easy, crested geckos or one of the similar New Caledonian geckos, like a gargoyle gecko or something, are probably a better bet. Just because morning geckos can be handled, but they're not a great candidate just because they're so small and skittish and fast, and they end up getting out. Whenever I have new babies, and I've had a crop of new morning gecko babies lately, I usually enlist the help of one of my kids or my wife to help me get it out and put it into the hatchling grow out container, because they're so jumpy, skittish, and tiny that if I don't have helps, I can often get them myself, but it's just easier to have somebody help me, and then I end up, they don't jump out and end up somewhere where I have to try to get under tables or whatever to get them. So good evening, according to Bush. Welcome. Aw, she was out of the camera, but I just saw one of the females spitting out sand. I love that. It's so fun to watch them do that. My jumping spiders are doing well. I released a whole bunch of babies because the species Phidippus audax is native to my area. I caught the female in my house actually, so I released most of the babies outside where they can go. Well, I shouldn't say native to my area. They've been in this area, this part of the US, for a long time, and they live in the wild. They're established populations here. And so I released a lot of them. I kept a couple. So, yeah. But they were doing well, and I also have my Phidippus regius, and she's doing pretty well, although I fed her a waxworm moth today, and she killed it. I'm not sure how much of it she ate, but she did kill it, so hopefully she had some of it. Sometimes they're funny. They will kill one and then leave it for a while and then come back and munch on it. It's kind of funny. You don't necessarily think of them doing that, but sometimes they do. There's a big old male right there at the top of the screen. I'm glad I finally got the heater replaced in here. The other heater was running a little hot, and this one that I got here is running a lot less hot, which is nice. It's about 80.7 degrees in here right now instead of whatever it was, warmer than that, too warm, 83 or something. Hello down the wormhole, greetings. Yeah, that's part of the problem when you're breeding something like bearded dragons, which are really easy to find in big box stores and so on. Unless you're breeding really high-end animals, it can be hard to find a market for them, and then they may end up going to people that shouldn't have them. That's true. That can be tricky. Oh, Crystal's Pets and Plants, crab spider now. Was it when you locally collected, or was it when you purchased? Oh, Jay's Crazy Obsessions. Remind me what we were talking about with the chalk. I can't quite recall what we were talking about in connection to the chalk. I'm glad it worked though. Just poking around to see if I can find that little tiny fry that I saw over here earlier. Not seeing a whole lot of activity in the corner there. That's okay. There we go. Hopefully there will be more showing up. Oh, diatomaceous earth. Yes, now I know what we're talking about. Yes, diatomaceous earth is amazing stuff. Good organic way to control quite a few insects. What English accent happened? Did I do something in an English accent? Not notice? I have no specific memories of doing that. Oh, thanks, Crystal. I think so. I think they're one of my favorite cichlids because you can have a whole load of them in a 29-gallon tank like this. You can even have quite a few in a 20 or a 10. Cool. Yeah, I'm really glad that helped. Jay's Crazy Obsessions. The diatomaceous earth is amazing stuff. I have used it to help control crickets because once in a while when I open my cricket bin, one leaps out. They can't escape from the bin when it's closed up. When it's open, it happens. So, down the wormhole, are you talking about shellies, like these multis, ones you can't see around your area? They can be hard to find in pet stores. I know of one pet store around here that has them, but they're like $45 a piece, which is crazy. I guess I do, Little Bob. I have been known to cultivate a bit of a British accent, so I suppose that's possible. I'm sure it's not a terribly authentic one, but has been known to happen. Okay. Okay, so you're in Alberta, Canada. Yeah. So it may be a place that's fairly hard to get them. Yeah, it was 45 per fish. 45 per fish, which is kind of nuts. I mean, it's a cool pet store. I love the pet store, but I think it's probably just to deter people from doing impulse buys and the fact, that kind of stuff. But I've sold them. When I sell them, I generally sell them cheaper than that. I've had some surplus from this tank that I've sold from once in a while. And okay. And yeah, I can actually speak other languages. Italian is my best language other than English. I lived and studied in Italy for quite a while, and then also continued. My undergraduate major was actually in Italian. So I speak Italian well. My wife speaks Italian well, and we speak Italian all the time, so it helps keep it fresh. And so yeah, we speak Italian. Our kids speak some Italian too. It depends on the kid. Some of them speak better than others, but they all speak some, which is fun. But we can still use it. My wife and I can still use it for our secret language if we want to, and it's fun. Okay, so Jay's Crazy Obsession says 55 or 44 a pair, and I'm in Utah. Yeah, they're pretty expensive. She's offered to trade you for your super reds. Wow. That's cool. But I guess they can be tricky if you don't have the right setup for them. I still want to do some super reds sometimes, Jay's Crazy Obsessions. I just need to figure out where I can put them. I couldn't really put them with my multis because they will thrash fish like that sometimes. And yes. Oh, Crystal's Pets and Plants, you're learning Italian. Ottimo. Allora ti parlo in italiano. Vediamo se mi capisci. Cool. Let's see. Yep, and I do teach at the university, so that's kind of what I do. If you start screaming at someone in Italian, you win any argument. Well, I've certainly heard some pretty compelling arguments in Italian, I'll tell you that. They're very creative. Ah, va bene, grazie. E come vanno le cose per te, Cristo? Yeah. I'm kind of surprised we haven't seen more fry here. I mean, there are lots of young fish in here that they've been around for a while, though. There you go, Jay's Crazy Obsessions. Just trade tanks. I can enjoy the super reds, you can enjoy the multis, and we trade back. There you go. And then there's no expansion, which I'm sure is what you were alluding to. Well, that's cool. I think the fact that you're learning Italian is super awesome. It's not a terribly common language to learn, so when anybody learns it, I think it's great. I have a brother-in-law of Italian descent. He's basically full-blooded Italian, but his parents were both born in Italy. They moved here, and he was born. So he grew up with Italian in his house, and so it's kind of fun to talk to him and stuff. But other than that, my wife and I don't speak Italian as often as we would like to others. We get to speak it often with each other, but there you go. I just think it's great that you're learning it. That's true. It is kind of like that. I was actually born here in the state in which you and I both reside, although I've lived in other states too. I spent a lot of my childhood in Washington State, and then I, of course, lived in Hawaii for a few years on the island of Oahu, north shore of Oahu, And I have lived in Italy, like I mentioned before, for a couple of years there. And yeah, those are the places where I've spent the most time. Oh, somebody just spit out some sand. I missed it. I think that's the funniest thing. I remember I was so excited the first time I caught that on video, and I put it as a zinger on the end of one of my videos. What does Mario say? Oh, I gotta watch the time. I've got about 5 minutes before I've got to go. Oh, look at these guys over here. That's true. Well, I'm mildly disappointed that we didn't find any fry, but I know they're in here because it seems like whenever I don't have a camera and I come in here to feed them, I see them, but then when I come in here with the camera, I don't see them. The Newport Aquarium in Newport, Kentucky has a huge tank of some kind of cichlid, and they always be spitting sand. Are they earth eaters, maybe? Earth eaters do that a lot. The geophagus, and there are others that do that a lot too, but the geophagus, the earth eaters, are one of the iconic cichlids that are always picking up the substrate in their mouth, churning it and spitting it out. So I wonder if that's what you got there. And the name of the island in Hawaii is Oahu. And the bird, yes, he's around. He's not sitting on my shoulder at the moment, but I should, I see some territoriality going on over here in the corner. Oh, they were spitting some sand too. So he's doing well. He's learning quite a bit of, he's learning some new phrases. And the other day I caught him on camera saying quite a few things, some new words that I hadn't heard him say before, like, okay, and come here, Twilly, since his name is Twilly. He said both of those phrases fairly clearly on the video. Of course, there was background noise and everything, but it was still kind of fun to catch him saying that. I always want to get him in a recording studio and see if I can get him talking, but I'm sure that would kind of inhibit him from speaking. He probably wouldn't like that. And I'm only going to be on another 2 or 3 minutes. And, he hasn't learned any Italian, which is kind of funny, but it's funny what he picks up. He picks up the funniest things. He picks up the cat meow, he picks up the squeaking of the rocking chair. He makes this funny noise when you see water, when you turn on water, like if he's sitting on my shoulder and I turn on water, or I start working in a fish tank or something like that, and he's sitting on my shoulder, he makes this water trickling noise, which is pretty incredible. So he's pretty funny, in addition to the words that he says and the phrases. According to Bush, have you ever seen or kept diving beetles? I've seen them. I've seen diving beetles before. I've never kept any. I think I would like to, though, and I've found a few of the giant water bugs, which are not beetles, but they are a predaceous aquatic insect, and I've seen those a few times. They have those around here, but they're pretty rare. At least I don't see them very often. But I found one at the bus stop a little while ago. Oh, good, Little Bob, you got to see some of them spitting. I love that. See, a lot of times I'm looking at the chat, I don't see what's going on, so you might see fry when I don't, and you might see things like that, but that's cool. So they pick up things you didn't want him to say and random stuff from his radio. Diving bell spiders I have never seen in real life, but I think they're amazing. When they make that web that holds the big bell of air, that's incredible. HC Aqua, welcome. So, HC Aqua, did you happen to see my video on Opaiula? I was just wondering, because I know you keep them. In Hawaii, they're very common as pets, so I was just curious about that. If you had seen that. It seems to be like people like that one, all right? Which is cool. So I'm just about out of time. I've got to cut out here. So thanks everyone for the likes. Thanks for watching. Watch for my video that's coming out Friday. Hopefully you'll like it. I'm pretty excited about it. And have a great evening.